Welcome back, everybody. Today we're diving into the book titled We the People, a Premonition. It's a political thriller written by Russell Razak and T.J. McGregor. I know what you're thinking. Another dystopian novel about how everything's falling apart? But this one hits different. Because what makes your stomach turn isn't the fiction. It's how uncomfortably close it feels to reality. This isn't escapism. It's a mirror held up to our current moment, and the reflection is unsettling. Let's talk about what happens when democracy stops being something we have and becomes something we must actively choose to create. When an AI predicts humanity's extinction, what can a reclusive millionaire, a silent journalist, and a former FBI analyst do about it? More importantly, what does this story mean for us, sitting here right now, living through whatever moment in history this turns out to be? What's particularly unsettling about this setup is how grounded it feels. The authors deliberately incorporate allusions to real-world events. Reviewers note references to things like Sharpiegate, to create a sense of continuity between our world and the novel's dystopia. This isn't some far future speculation. It's next Tuesday if we're not careful. Enter our three protagonists. Luna Ochoa, a former FBI analyst turned underground investigator who understands surveillance and AI systems. Her technical expertise isn't just background flavor. It's what makes the AI's predictions credible and the resistance possible. Leo Montoya, a reclusive millionaire funding a clandestine network exposing government abuses. He's got resources, but he's not omnipotent. And Jake Kessler, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist professionally destroyed for exposing high-level corruption. He represents the suppressed free press, the voice that was silenced for telling uncomfortable truths. These three aren't superheroes. They're regular people, bruised by loss and compromise, trying to fight back against something massive. They build an advanced AI system to track patterns, predict outcomes, and understand what's happening behind the propaganda and carefully constructed narratives. But the AI does something unexpected. It starts generating predictions about the future. Terrifying predictions. Nuclear war. Complete ecological collapse. The effective end of humanity as we know it. The AI isn't being dramatic. It's following data on climate change, political instability, and suppressed information to their logical conclusion. It's connecting dots that powerful people have worked hard to keep separate. The AI becomes an oracle, but one that uses mathematics and data rather than mysticism. Suddenly, the mission changes. Exposing corruption isn't enough. They need to build something new, a different system of governance to pull humanity back from the brink. Something radical, a technologically enabled form of direct democracy inspired by ancient Athens but designed for the modern world. A system where ordinary people are actually involved in decision-making, where power is decentralized, and diversity of experience becomes strength rather than something to be managed. The novel becomes an urgent race against time, told through parallel points of view that allows us to experience the pressure from multiple perspectives. Can they build this system? Can they get enough people to believe in it? Can they implement it before the catastrophes become inevitable? The stakes couldn't be higher, and the clock is ticking. Understanding why this book works requires understanding who wrote it. The collaboration between Dr. Russell Razak and T.J. McGregor brings together two distinct but complementary skills that create something greater than either could achieve alone. Dr. Russell Razak is a London-based consultant psychiatrist with over 20 years in the UK's National Health Service. But reducing him to just a clinician misses the point entirely. He's a visiting scholar at the University of Cambridge, and he operates at the intersection of psychology, philosophy, and politics in ways that few practitioners do. He's written books analyzing everything from terrorism's psychological underpinnings in Human Being to Human Bomb to Obama's cultural phenomenon in Obama Karma. He's consulted for the UK Home Office and Ministry of Justice on matters of policy and human behavior. He's someone who thinks deeply about how human beings behave under pressure, how societies break down, and how power operates at both individual and systemic levels. Razak is also a prolific media commentator, contributing to major international publications like The Guardian, The Independent, USA Today, and Psychology Today. He maintains a popular YouTube channel with substantial following, which tells you something about his ability to communicate complex ideas accessibly. His expertise isn't abstract. It's grounded in decades of clinical practices with real people experiencing real crises, combined with high-level policy consultation and public intellectual work. T.J. McGregor, the pen name for Patricia Jane Schultz McGregor, is an Edgar Award-winning American novelist who's written 44 books, primarily thrillers. That Edgar Award wasn't a fluke. She won it in 2003 for Out of Sight, and it's one of the most prestigious recognitions in mystery and thriller writing. She knows how to construct plots that move, build compelling characters, and maintain tension over hundreds of pages without letting the energy sag. But McGregor's expertise extends beyond conventional thrillers. Under various pseudonyms, she's co-authored numerous speculative nonfiction books exploring topics like synchronicity, UFOs, precognition, and alien contact. This experience with speculative themes, with the what-if questions that live in the space between documented reality and imagined possibility, is exactly what We the People requires. She's comfortable in that liminal space, where the present meets the future, where the real bleeds into the possible. Together, they have created something unusual, a thriller with real intellectual weight that doesn't sacrifice pace for philosophy. Reviewers consistently praise what one called the cinematic pacing, and another describes as braiding thriller pacing with political commentary. Razak brings analytical depth about political and psychological systems. McGregor brings narrative skills that keep you turning pages even as your mind is working through complex ideas. It's this synthesis that makes the book work as both entertainment and warning. Let's be direct about what Razak and McGregor are doing. This isn't subtle. They've written a book that functions on two levels simultaneously, and understanding both is crucial to understanding the work. First, it's a warning. The near future America they've constructed isn't random dystopian imagination or lazy world building. It's deliberately constructed to feel like a plausible next step from where we are now. Every element, the captured government, the silenced press, the billionaire control, the normalized oppression, represents a recognizable trend extrapolated forward just enough to show where it might lead. The authors are essentially saying, look at this. This is what the data suggests. This is where we are heading if the trajectory doesn't change. The fascist regime didn't appear overnight in the novel, and the book is explicit about this. It emerged through erosion of institutions, silencing of dissent, spread of misinformation, and concentration of power. Each step probably seemed reasonable in the moment to someone. Each erosion could be justified, rationalized, explained away. But the cumulative effect transforms democracy into something unrecognizable. Sound familiar? That's the point. The book deliberately cultivates that discomfort. The AI predictions aren't meant to feel like science fiction spectacle. They are the logical outcome of trends we already see. Inadequately addressed climate change, exploited political instability, concentrated technological power. The novel takes our current temperature and asks, what if we just keep going? What if we don't course correct? The answer the AI provides is extinction-level catastrophe. One reviewer noted that the catastrophe depiction can feel heavy-handed, but suggested, and I agree, that this is deliberate. It's designed to shock readers into awareness. The book isn't trying to be subtle, because the authors don't think the moment calls for subtlety. But here's what makes this book more than just dystopian handwriting. It's primarily a call to action. It would be easy to write a book that wallows in how terrible everything is, that presents collapse as inevitable and leaves you feeling hopeless. Plenty of contemporary fiction does exactly that. We the People refuses that path. Instead, it warns us to recognize that democracy is not a guarantee. It's not something we have. It's something we do, or fail to do. The book is explicit about this. Democracy is a choice that requires active participation. The protagonist's decision to build a new system isn't just plot mechanics. It's the author saying, there are alternatives. The way things are is not the way things have to be. Those alternatives don't require perfect leaders or ideal conditions. They require ordinary people deciding to participate, resist, and imagine something different. The book frames every crisis as being an opportunity. Yes, things are bad. Yes, the trajectory is frightening. But the book isn't written yet. The AI can predict where we are headed, but it can't determine what we choose to do with that knowledge. That agency, that capacity to choose differently, is what the book ultimately champions. The message is one of uneasy responsibility. You can see what's coming. So, what are you going to do about it? One of the book's most compelling and chilling aspects is its examination of how democracies die. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. Not through dramatic coups with tanks in the streets, but through slow, almost bureaucratic processes that seem reasonable in the moment but accumulate into something unrecognizable. The fascist America in the novel didn't result from external invasion or revolutionary overthrow. It emerged from within. Democracy's own infrastructure was used to dismantle democracy. This is a historical pattern we have seen repeatedly. Weimar Germany, various Latin American countries, more recent examples in Hungary and Turkey. It's a pattern that feels particularly relevant to contemporary anxieties. The mechanics of this erosion are what make it so insidious. You don't need jackboots and obvious authoritarianism. You just need gradual normalization of things that would have been unthinkable a decade earlier. Curtail press freedom here for security, of course. Concentrate executive power there for efficiency in times of crisis. Marginalize dissent for unity and social cohesion. Exploit a genuine emergency to normalize exceptional measures. Manufacture consent through carefully managed information. Each step seems manageable, defensible even. But the cumulative effect transforms the system. The book shows this through its villains, billionaires and loyalists who've captured the government. Reviewers note these villains are painted in stark colors, which some might read as oversimplification. But I think there's something more interesting happening. The authors aren't interested in humanizing the mechanisms of oppression. They are interested in showing how power operates when it's no longer constrained by democratic accountability. These villains don't need to overthrow anything because they already control it from within. They don't need massive conspiracies. They just need to act in their self-interests while everyone else is too distracted, too tired, or too convinced of democracy's resilience to push back effectively. This connects to a crucial insight. Democracies are fragile not because they are poorly designed, but because they require constant maintenance. They need informed, engaged citizens. They need institutions with integrity. They need a shared commitment to certain baseline values. When those things erode, when citizens become disengaged, when institutions are captured, when shared values fragment, democracy becomes vulnerable. The erosion happens slowly enough that it's hard to identify the moment when the line was crossed. The book forces us to confront uncomfortable questions. How do we know when the line has been crossed? At what point does a democracy stop being a democracy and become something else with democratic aesthetics? What are the warning signs, and are we capable of recognizing them in real time? And what do we do when we realize we are already on the wrong side of that line? These aren't just philosophical questions for the characters. They are questions for us, living in this moment, watching our own political systems strain under various pressures. The book's warning isn't about some far future possibility. It's about recognizing the processes already underway and deciding whether to accept them or resist. Here's where the book gets really interesting, and where it moves from diagnosis to prescription. The authors aren't just identifying problems, they're proposing a solution, and that solution is both radical and deeply historical, combining ancient political philosophy with cutting-edge technology. The direct democracy model Luna, Leo, and Jake try to implement is inspired by ancient Athens, where ordinary citizens were directly involved in governance through citizen assemblies. This wasn't representative democracy where you elect someone to make decisions on your behalf. This was participatory democracy where you actually showed up, deliberated with your fellow citizens, and had a direct voice in determining policy. Now, the Athenian system had significant and obvious limitations. It excluded women, enslaved people, and non-citizens from participation. Its democracy was restricted to a small percentage of the population. But the core principle was powerful: the belief that ordinary people, given opportunity and responsibility, could make good decisions about their collective future. The Athenians believed that diversity of experience wasn't a problem to manage, but a resource to tap. They believed that the intelligence needed to run a society was disrupted throughout that society, not concentrated in any elite class. The novel asks, what if we could implement this principle at scale using modern technology? What if we could create platforms allowing genuine, widespread participation in governance? What if decision-making power was truly distributed rather than concentrated? In the book, this takes the form of what one character describes as, quote, a real democracy, where ordinary people from every walk of life are involved, end quote. The system they envision isn't mob rule or simple majority voting on everything. It emphasizes process, iterative, inclusive, testing ideas through actual implementation, and feedback. It's about creating structures where people from different backgrounds with different expertise and experiences can contribute ideas, debate proposals, and collectively determine solutions. The technology enables coordination and participation at scale that would have been impossible in ancient Athens. This challenges fundamental assumptions about what democracy is. Most of us live in representative democracies, and we've come to equate that with democracy itself. We vote for people who make decisions on our behalf, often with input primarily from lobbyists, special interests, and wealthy donors. We have accepted this as natural, inevitable, perhaps even optimal. The book asks, is that really the best we can do? Or have we accepted a watered-down version because we can't imagine something more robust. The direct democracy proposal isn't presented as utopian or without challenges. The novel acknowledges real concerns. How do we prevent mob rule? How do you protect minority rights? How do you ensure informed decision-making rather than knee-jerk reactions? How do you prevent manipulation on the platform itself? These are legitimate questions, and the book engages with them seriously. But by raising the possibility at all, the book opens up space for imagination and experimentation. It suggests that our current systems aren't inevitable, that alternatives exist, and that technology, currently used primarily to manipulate, surveil, and control us, could potentially be redirected toward empowerment and genuine participation. The Athens solution is both a callback to democracy's roots and a vision of what democracy could become. The AI in this novel plays a fascinating and complex role that goes beyond typical science fiction tropes about artificial intelligence. It's both the herald of doom and potentially part of the solution. It's the technology that reveals how bad things could get, but it's also the technology that might enable new forms of governance. This dual nature of technology is one of the book's most important and nuanced themes. We tend to think about technology in simplistic binary terms, either savior or destroyer, utopian or dystopian. But the reality is invariably more complex. The same AI that predicts humanity's extinction could also help coordinate direct democracy participation at scale. The same internet spreading misinformation can also connect organizers and enable resistance. The same algorithm manipulating behavior can also surface diverse perspectives and facilitate genuine deliberation. The AI functions as what ancient cultures would call an oracle, an entity that reveals hidden truths about the future. But unlike mythological oracles, whose predictions were deliberately cryptic, this AI is brutally clear. It's not mystical, it's mathematical. It's taking accumulated data on climate change, political instability, social unrest, and suppressed information, and it's extrapolating. The predictions are terrifying precisely because they are based on logic and observable trends rather than emotion or speculation. Luna's expertise in surveillance, data analysis, and AI is what makes this credible. She's not a mystical character interpreting vague prophecies. She's a technical expert who understands how these systems work, what data they are processing, and why their conclusions follow from their inputs. The AI isn't pulling predictions from nowhere. It's connecting dots that have been deliberately kept separate by those in power. The AI's predictions are tied explicitly to ecological collapse and climate change. This isn't random. The authors connect the threat of unchecked AI to the tangible crisis of environmental destruction. Both are existential threats. Both are consequences of systems prioritizing short-term gain over long-term survival. Both require collective action on a scale we have struggled to achieve. By linking them, the book suggests these aren't separate crises, but manifestations of the same underlying problem: our inability to govern ourselves wisely in the face of complex, long-term challenges. What's clever and important about using AI as predictor is that it removes the ability to dismiss warnings as hysterical or politically motivated. The AI isn't being emotional or partisan. It's being logical. It's looking at data and extrapolating outcomes. You can't accuse it of having an agenda or being alarmist. Its conclusions are terrifying precisely because they are based on dispassionate analysis of empirical trends. But, and this is crucial, The AI can't solve the problem. It can show the characters and us where we are headed. It can reveal the trajectory, but it can't make the choices unnecessary to change course. That still requires human decision-making, courage, creativity, and collective action. The technology is a tool, but agency remains with people. The AI reveals, but humans must respond. This feels particularly important now, when we are simultaneously fascinated and terrified by AI's capabilities. We are bombarded with predictions about AI doing everything from curing cancer to destroying civilizations. The book seems to say, yes, be concerned about AI, but recognize that the real question isn't what AI can do. It's what we choose to do with it, and whether we maintain human agency in an increasingly technological age. The danger isn't that machines become too powerful. It's that we abdicate our responsibility to make hard choices and let algorithms make them for us. So here's something I really appreciate about this book. The protagonists aren't special in the superhero sense. Luna is skilled, but she's not impossibly brilliant. Leo has resources, but he's not all-powerful. Jake has experience, but he's been beaten down and professionally destroyed. They are compromised people who've experienced loss, who have reasons to be cynical, who understand how power works precisely because they've been crushed by it. And that's precisely why their resistance matters. The book isn't selling us a story about exceptional individuals saving the world through their unique genius. It's about ordinary people, admittedly with some useful skills and resources, but fundamentally ordinary, deciding that doing something is better than doing nothing, even when the odds are terrible and success is far from guaranteed. So then the title, We the People, is thematically central. It references the US Constitution's opening, but it's also a statement about where power properly resides. The real protagonist isn't Luna, Leo, or Jake as individuals. It's the collective. Change doesn't come from waiting for the right leader or the perfect moment or someone more qualified to handle it. It comes from regular, flawed, scared people choosing to participate. This connects directly to the direct democracy theme. The system they are building isn't about finding better representatives or smarter leaders. It's about making representation less necessary by increasing participation. It's about recognizing that the intelligence and creativity needed to solve complex problems exists throughout the population, not just among elites or credentialed experts or wealthy entrepreneurs. The book argues, through its structure and characterization, that we have systematically underestimated ordinary people. We have built systems on the assumption that most people can't or shouldn't be involved in governance, that they are too busy, too informed, too easily manipulated, too self-interested. Maybe, the book suggests, that's becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy. Maybe, if we built systems that actually invited and enabled meaningful participation, that treated people as capable rather than as subjects to be managed, we'd be surprised by what people could do. Reviewers consistently praise the characters for feeling realistic and relatable. One notes that Luna, Leo, and Jake navigate quote-unquote difficult choices that make them compelling precisely because those choices have weight and consequences. These aren't action heroes making split-second decisions with perfect confidence. These are people struggling with uncertainty, fear, moral complexity, and the weight of responsibility. This is where the call to action becomes personal and uncomfortable. The book isn't asking you to admire the heroes from a safe distance. It's not offering the comforting fiction that special people will handle the big problems. It's asking you to see yourself in these characters. What would you do in their position? What are you doing right now? When are you seeing democracy eroding, catastrophes approaching, systems that don't work? What's your response? Despair? Cynicism? Or some form of participation, however small? The book's ultimate message is that the responsibility for the future rests with we the people, not as abstract concept, but as concrete reality. Not with them, but with us. That's simultaneously empowering and terrifying. So what do we take from a political thriller about AI predictions and near-future fascism? What are the practical, applicable lessons that extend beyond the novel's pages? First and most fundamentally, the book teaches us to pay attention to processes, not just outcomes. Democracies don't collapse overnight in a single dramatic event. They erode gradually through small decisions that seem reasonable in isolation but accumulate into something unrecognizable. The lesson is vigilance about those small erosions. When press freedom is curtailed for security, when dissent is marginalized for unity, when power concentrates for efficiency, when exceptional measures become normalized for the crisis, these are warning signs. The book trains us to see these patterns. It shows how each small step enables the next, how each compromise makes the subsequent compromise easier, how the line moves incrementally until you look back and realize you can't see where you started. This isn't paranoia. It's pattern recognition based on historical precedent. Democracies have died this way repeatedly. The book reminds us it can happen here, wherever here is for you. Second, it challenges us to think bigger and more imaginatively about what democracy can be. Most of us accepted inherited systems without serious questioning whether they're optimal or even adequate for contemporary challenges. Representative democracy is what we know, so it's what we defend. We have naturalized it to the point that we can't imagine alternatives. But the book asks, what if there's something better? What if the systems we've inherited were designed for specific historical contexts that no longer apply? What if technology could enable forms of participation that were previously impossible? Direct democracy at scale has legitimate challenges. How do you prevent mob rule? How do you protect minority rights? How do you ensure informed rather than reactive decision making? How do you prevent the platforms itself from being manipulated? These questions don't have easy answers, but asking them opens space for imagination, experimentation, and innovation in governance. The book suggests we have been too timid, too accepting of the status quo, too convinced that what we have is the best possible arrangement. Third, the book reminds us that individual agencies matter, not naively, ignoring structural constraints, but realistically, recognizing that structures are made of people making choices. Luna, Leo, and Jake can't single-handedly fix everything, but they can build networks, create platforms, model alternatives, and refuse to accept inevitability. Their actions ripple outward, inspiring others, creating possibilities that didn't exist before. This is a delicate balance. The book avoids both naive individualism like one person can change everything, and paralyzing structuralism, like systems are too big for individuals to matter. Instead, it suggests that individual action within collective frameworks is where change happens. You can't do everything, but you can do something. And that something, multiplied across enough people, can transform systems. Fourth, it teaches us about the relationship between warning and action. Seeing the problem isn't enough. Plenty of people see the problems, like climate change, democratic erosion, inequality, and technological threats. The question is what you do with that seeing. Do you become paralyzed by the scale? Do you retreat into cynicism? Do you distract yourself with comfortable narratives? Or do you find some way, however small, to push in a different direction? The AI in the novel reveals where we are headed, but that revelation alone doesn't change anything. It's what the characters choose to do with that knowledge that matters. Similarly, all the books, articles, studies, and warnings about our various crises mean nothing if they don't translate into changed behavior, different choices, new forms of participation. Finally, the book teaches us that hope is not the same as optimism. Optimism is the belief that things will work out. Hope is the choice to act as if your actions matter, even when you are not certain they will. The protagonists aren't optimistic. They are terrified and uncertain, but they are hopeful enough to try. That distinction matters. We don't need confident predictions of success. We need the willingness to act despite uncertainty. Before we wrap it up, I want to leave you with some questions to think about. Not because I have the answers, but because wrestling with these questions is part of the work the book invites us to do. However, if you wish to answer these questions, you can also email us at diplomacyandiscourse@gmail.com with the answers. You can also comment on YouTube if you are listening through YouTube. I will also post the questions in the show notes or the description below. If an AI could accurately predict society's collapse, would you want to know? Or does some knowledge create more paralysis than action? There's a real tension here between the value of warning and the psychological weight of doom. Would knowing help you prepare? Or would it crush your ability to function? And if you knew, would that knowledge change your behavior in meaningful ways? Do you think direct democracy at scale is genuinely possible with modern technology? Or would it create more problems than it solves? What would you want to participate in directly if you could? What decisions do you wish you had more voice in? And honestly, what would you be willing to invest time and energy in if the option existed? It's easy to critique representative democracy, but would you actually show up for genuine participation if it were available? What's one small action ordinary people can take right now to strengthen democracy? Not grand gestures or massive commitments, but practical, realistic things we could actually do this week. What does meaningful participation look like when you're not a millionaire or a journalist or an expert, but just someone with a job and a life and limited time? Please think about these questions, discuss them, argue about them. That conversation itself is a form of participation, a way of exercising the democratic muscle that atrophies when we don't use it. We the People, A Premonition is a political thriller about three people trying to prevent an AI-predicted apocalypse by building a new system of direct democracy in fascist America. It's written by a psychiatrist who understands power and a thriller writer who knows how to tell a story. It's deliberately serving as both warning about where we might be headed and a call to action about what we can do instead. The book explores themes that define our moment: democracy's fragility, the possibility of tech-enabled direct governance, AI and technology's dual nature, and the power of ordinary people to enact meaningful change. It's not subtle about any of this. It's not trying to be. It's trying to be a wake-up call, and wake-up calls aren't supposed to be gentle. Whether it succeeds depends on what we do with it. A book can illuminate, it can inspire, it can challenge, it can provide frameworks for thinking about complex problems, but it can't actually change anything by itself. That responsibility still falls squarely on us, the readers, the citizens, the ordinary people who collectively have more power than we typically recognize. Democracy is a choice, not a given. That's the central thesis. And if that's true, then we're making that choice every day, either by actively participating or by passively accepting whatever comes. The book wants us to recognize that we are choosing, even when it feels like we are not. That even inaction is a choice with consequences. The ending of the book is apparently perfect, according to reviewers who read it. Satisfying, meaningful, earning its conclusion rather than delivering cheap resolution. I found the ending to be pretty good. I would even say satisfying, meaningful, and earning its conclusion rather than delivering cheap resolution. Endings are supposed to leave you with something to carry forward, something that extends beyond the final pages. So, the book is already out. Please give it a read. Not because I said so, but because it might give you a useful framework for thinking about what's happening around us and what's possible. Because it might make you angry or hopeful or both, and both emotions have their place. Because it might remind you that the future isn't written yet, and that's both terrifying and liberating. Because it might help you see patterns you've been too close to notice. Because it might ask you questions you need to wrestle with. Most importantly, read it because it refuses to let you off the hook. It doesn't present a story where heroes save the day and you can go home satisfied. It presents a story that turns around at the end and asks, what about you? The characters took action in their moments. What are you going to do in yours? That's uncomfortable, which is probably exactly why you should sit with it. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, stay curious, stay critically engaged, and maybe ask yourself, what would I do if I knew what was coming? And then maybe, just maybe, act like it matters. Because it absolutely does.